is no question homelessness is a crisis in America.
Sleeping outside because you have nowhere else to go is not a crime.
3/4 of people have mental health challenges, and about 70% have drug and alcohol addiction. That is the root of the issue.
So your son is actually in that park?
He's in the park right now.
Living in a tent?
Yes.
What's the answer?
Mental health and rehab facilities.
They don't have to go to rehab. They don't have to participate in therapy. They don't require the services. There is no question homelessness is a crisis in America, with the debate over how to solve this human tragedy being hotly contested. And what we cannot forget is we are sadly talking about hundreds of thousands, some claim millions, of mothers, fathers, single adults, and children, every day searching for food and living in conditions no human would ever aspire to live in. But despite that, many residents from big cities want those experiencing homelessness out of their communities, citing drug use, crime, and encampments as the main reasons. The problem is, it's not just big cities anymore. Grants Pass, a smaller community nestled in the beautiful backdrop of Southern Oregon, has many residents claiming there has been an explosion of homelessness, leaving their idyllic community unsafe. Now, Grants Pass has gained national attention because of a court case between local homeless individuals and the city. Now, at the heart of the matter is whether it is cruel and unusual punishment for the city to arrest and fine people for sleeping outside in public, even with just a pillow or blanket, when there is no safe shelter available. The case has gone all the way to the Supreme Court, and it will have national implications on whether cities can criminalize those with no other option but to sleep in public. Now, my first guest, Missy, is a resident of Grants Pass. She says the rise in homelessness has left many residents scared due to rampant drug use, crime, and even physical assaults on local residents.
Almost 10 years ago, me and my 6 kids, we ended up homeless here. It's really sad to see what's happened, not just down here, but this whole town. You really can't go anywhere without being scared. A few years ago, some guy jumped in my car and he grabbed me. And what are you supposed to do? Tell the police it was some homeless guy? Other than drug use, I think that there's a ton of mental health issues. It's just crazy to see this place, like right behind.
You guys are actually filming these guys down here right now?
Right now behind us, we've got some people that are pretty frustrated that we're here right now. They want royalties and money, and it's entitlement. You have the energy to get up and come harass a film crew, but you can't get off your ass and go look for a job. This is insane. I feel like if the city could get some land for, oh my gosh. It's only on my face. We keep having to move locations. You sure have a lot of energy. Do you not have a job?
It's none of your business.
She just won't leave us alone. It's like, what, the 6th, 7th time we've had to move locations? When I was homeless, you weren't allowed to do this. We would have to leave the park after dark. Now they're allowed to kind of do whatever they want. They've literally taken over it. I really hope that the government can do something, maybe get a plot of land for the urban campers where there's showers and bathrooms so we could get our parks back.
Well, Missy, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This is a problem.
Yeah.
And you say many of the residents in Grants Pass just really don't feel safe anymore. And we're talking about kind of common areas where usually you would just go to really be carefree, be in the park, children would be playing, people would just be walking, enjoying themselves. And now it's kind of like an obstacle course. What are you most afraid of?
Well, I was assaulted. I guess that's like one of my biggest fears, is that happening again. I mean, I was alone when that happened, but I can't even imagine if, like, you know, one of my kids was with me. So it's a constant fear because it happens like daily. You go to Walmart, you're approached. You go to the 7-Eleven, and it's just, it's a constant thing. I'm afraid of being attacked again.
Well, I'm sorry that happened to you, That changes you, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What did you say to yourself at the time? Did you fear for your life? What did you think was going to happen?
I mean, in that moment, I don't think you really think. I think it's like fight or flight. You're just like, how can I get out of this situation? And then afterwards is like when the adrenaline was just like, when I really got a chance to think, you know, I could have been killed. And I think I kind of downplayed it a little bit to my family. But in that moment, it was just like, how can I get out of this situation?
What happened in that moment? What was said to you? Were they trying to take something from you?
You know, I really don't remember exactly if he was like trying to rob me, but he did. When he got in, he grabbed me and he had a hold onto me. And I've been assaulted before. And so it's kind of like, you've got this thing going through your mind, like, oh my gosh, this is happening again. And so he unzipped his pants and was doing some pretty inappropriate stuff. And he had a knife as well. So I don't know if he wanted to rape me, steal my purse, both. I don't really know what his intentions were.
So it could have gotten really dark. I mean,
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you can only imagine.
You say there's constant shooting up of drugs, overdoses, dead bodies have been found.
Mm-hmm. Out in the open. This isn't something that's hidden either. Like you can walk by the park and see them smoking meth, shooting up.
And when people are laying out just in the open, you don't know if they're asleep, unconscious, or dead. And you only have to find one or two dead ones to consider every one could potentially be, even if it's rare.
Yeah.
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 And really, you guys have found feces on the sidewalk, buckets that they've used as bathrooms. It just isn't what you think of when you think of a beautiful spring day.
Yeah.
That's not what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Now, you say your attitude towards the homeless has changed from need help to do they really want help? Why? What changed your attitude?
Well, I was homeless about 10 years ago, and so I had a much different perspective, you know, and it was like, we need, you know, they need help. But after things have gotten so bad, they decriminalized drugs. And when we lost the first court case, that kind of changed things to where, I mean, I've given people rides. I've been down there helping, you know, making blessing bags and helping out. And you just hear people say like, oh, I came from California because it's so easy to be homeless here. And people come from all over the place to be homeless there because they've made it so easy. And so it's like the majority of the homeless people in our town are drug users. And so it's like, you try to help them, but they just want money. They don't want, even with food, it's like, I tried bringing food down there one day and they were like, we don't want your food. We want the money. And so it's gone from, you know, I want to help. I mean, I still want a solution, but to now it's like something needs to be done about it.
How did you become homeless?
So the house that I was living in, it foreclosed on the landlord. And so we got once he had his final day there, an officer told us, well, you guys can just basically stay here till the bank tells you to leave. So I stayed for about 6 months and I saved up. And then they said, hey, if you can be out, once the bank finally took it over, they said, if you can be out in 30 days, we'll give you cash for keys. You can have $3,000, which I did. But I didn't have a place to go. So that's what was the beginning of the 6 months of being homeless.
All right. But you think this is a different breed of cat that's out there now? These people are coming in and bragging that this is the best place to be homeless.
Yeah.
Because free services are available, clean needles, and drugs were decriminalized, which had to be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard of in my life. And they've decided that now, right?
Yeah, I think they're coming back.
They're reversing that brilliant decision to say, all skate, free for all, do whatever drugs you want.
Yeah.
That was not a smart decision. That didn't work.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Right.
Okay, next, a resident of Grants Pass who says he has taken matters into his own hands to keep his beloved neighborhood safe. Why? Because he says the local government just isn't doing enough. They're just not fighting the surge of homelessness. So we're going to add him to the conversation after the break. Life is full of surprises, and emergencies often strike when we least expect them. But preparation is key, and that's where Jace Case comes in. With Jace Case, you'll have essential emergency prescription medications right at your fingertips, ready when you need them most. Whether it's an unexpected illness or a travel mishap, having the right meds on hand can turn a potential crisis into just a minor inconvenience. Don't let the unexpected catch you off guard. Jace Case gives you peace of mind so you can tackle life surprises with confidence. Be ready. Take charge today. Head over to jace.com. That's JASE.com. And when you check out, use the code PHIL, spelled PHIL, to get a discount on your order and to have the right meds on hand the moment you need them. Having trouble taking your business to the next level? Financial Yield Solutions, Inc., or FYSI for short, provides tailored solutions for businesses generating $1 to $10 million annually. For tax planning, advertising, and retirement strategies to scaling operations, FYSI helps businesses thrive with $500 billion raised for AI tech under the Trump administration. Businesses cannot afford to be left behind. FYSI can even help you explore AI integration to cut costs and boost profits. With over 14 years of experience, FYSI specializes in solving the exact challenges business owners face. Business owners can book a free business review today to transform their operations, boost profits, and secure their financial future. Visit FYSI.com/Dr. Phil or call 800-877-4000. That's FYSI.com/Dr. Phil or call 800-877-4000.
We are trying to influence the Supreme Court to see that the parks are not for the homeless. They found a dead homeless in the park in his tent during a baseball game. Taxpayers are paying for that.
The amount of ODs every week is now at 1 a day. Mothers have been telling me now for weeks, my son just constantly wants to know when the next person's gonna die at our baseball park.
If I do something illegal, I expect to go to jail. But these people don't seem to have that option, I guess, and they can do whatever they want. Why do they have a different set of laws?
Well, everybody can describe the problem, but all of you at home and all of you in the audience, I want you to think about this. If you were like king of the forest, just like that, and it was your job to solve this, what would you do? If you could do whatever you wanted and you could just apply your solution, what would it be? Now, my next guest, Brock, claims the city of Grants Pass has always been about community, with the park across from his home being a safe haven for children and families to go hang out, spend quality time, have picnics, throw the ball around, frisbees, take their dog. But now Brock claims that that park has become a place for homelessness and drug use. He says he's not going to sit idly by and watch that happen again.
There's not too many people in the community visit the parks anymore. I saw what was happening in the parks. It was more than homelessness. There was drug addicts that were smoking meth and fentanyl and leaving messes. Basically took over the parks. This is one park that they split up, put the campers on one side of the park, left the other side open for the community. I use a little hidden cam, and I started just walking through the parks, showing what I saw.
I got type for this. I don't have one right now. I guess I'm starting it. Yeah.
We started Park Watch GP on Facebook. We have rallies once a week, and we clean up all the dangerous stuff that you don't want kids playing with. This area down here, it's cleaned up now, but for the past year and a half, it was taken over completely. There's usually 50, 60 kids in the playground, and look at it now, and hardly anybody's here. They're afraid of it. When I come to the park, I carry 2 shots of Narcan wherever I go, rubber glove to pick up nasties. I carry my mission statement, and I carry these cards for a rehab specialist. Unfortunately, this is what I'll pick up in a day. That's what we're fighting against. So under the bridge here, it gets really nasty. That's my son's tent right there. He doesn't have to be here. If you were to just take the steps to get off drugs, we'd take him in a second. I go to bed each night wondering if I'm going to see him again. And I wake up in the morning wondering if he's still alive. I'll get him clean, but then goes back to his drugs. Those drugs are so addictive.
Well, Brock, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
You say you're not against the homeless,
No.
but you believe there needs to be some accountability. Where do you draw that line?
Well, first you need to figure there's two different types of homelessness, right? You've got your down and out homeless people, and then you've got the people that are homeless because they're drug addicts or have mental health problems. And until we separate those two, we're not going to fix the problem.
And you say there's a different approach to the two.
I would think so. I'm not an expert. I'm a tile setter. But I know living with drug addicts, my son's a drug addict. You could find my son a house tomorrow, but that doesn't mean he'll be able to take care of it, right? Even if you paid his rent, he would rent the rooms out to other people to make money to buy drugs.
So your son is actually in that park?
He's in the park right now, yeah.
Living in a tent?
Yes. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And you don't have a strategy for getting him out of that park, or he'd be out of the park?
Well,
right?
we've taken him in the house 4 times in the last 10 years, and the same thing happens. Until he gets clean, you can't live with a drug addict.
Right.
It's just too hard. There's too many other problems. And I don't know what to do. I've gotten him clean before. Usually when he gets out of jail for a significant time, he'll be clean. But then, I can see the gears rolling, and he gets depressed, and he doesn't know how to be clean. He needs massive mental health before you start trying to get him off drugs. You can't just get somebody off drugs. They need to learn how to be off drugs.
Well, I understand that the addicted homeless in the park call you a park narc and a park rat.
Yeah, some do.
Why?
Because I'm exposing what's happening in the parks. At first, people didn't believe it. They thought, I was exaggerating and it's not that bad. And so I started going in and recording it and posting it to our local Facebook groups to prove what was happening.
Mm-hmm. You wear a hidden camera.
I wear a little cam that goes above my left ear.
And you just walk around?
Just random times. I walk in and I walk out. And I record what I see. I post what I see.
And you're holding weekly meetings and showing some of this and talking to people because you're trying to get the city to act.
Yes.
What do you guys want them to do? What's the answer?
Well, first of all, clean up the parks, right?
Define clean up.
Going through the bushes and the gutters and pulling up all those needles and tutors and the foil that we see on the ground.
So physically, you want to get the drug paraphernalia out there so children don't walk up and grab it and stab themselves.
Yes, yes.
Animals too.
Yeah, animals. Somebody lost their
dogs and children.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, dog OD'd in the park.
All right, so you want them to clean up physically.
Help keep us safe.
Okay, so once that's done, it's just going to fill back up. So you're going to have somebody go through there and clean that up on a regular basis,
Yeah,
right?
that's what we're doing.
Okay.
And it gets better and better every time we do it. We do it once a week at the sports park.
Okay.
And so we're cleaning it up a bit. We're making a difference.
Okay. All right, and then besides that, what do you think needs to be done?
Again, mental health and rehab facilities. There's hardly anything available. There's tons of outreach to help people, to feed them, to clothe them. They give them tents, but they're not out there pushing the rehab. And they don't want the rehab, if you ask most of these people. They're not interested, and that's the mental health part.
Well, we were looking at a plot of land to put, so Medford, it's like 23 minutes away. It's the next town over. And they've got...
Rogue Retreat.
Yeah. And so you can go there and have your tent, and it's covered by a metal awning. And then you've got these little mini dorms or whatever that they can graduate to those, and then they help them get jobs. And I think that they're dealing with their homeless, and we just keep getting more by the day. What I would like to see is the same thing, a plot of land where the urban campers, because it's obvious that we need more housing as well. We don't have enough low-income housing. We don't have that much housing. There is some, but I do think that needs to be addressed. And, you can only do one thing at a time, but starting with a piece of land that we can put them in to where they're not in our parks anymore, they're on this specific property. And if they're found camping and living outside of that area, that there's going to be maybe a warning, a fine, and then either jail or, I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but not doing anything is
Well, it doesn't sound like you have any of the answers. You're just pushing them down the road. And I'm not saying anybody does. I'm just saying, but you pushing them down the road, eventually Will they just fall off the earth?
Well, they go where it's easiest. So Medford has been able to clear out their parks by opening up Rogue Retreat and several other places for people to go.
That doesn't solve the problem.
It
You're just
doesn't
talking
solve the
about
problem, but what
relocating.
happens, they have structure there, and they try to teach people how to go to bed at night at a certain time, get up at a certain time. They don't say you can't use drugs. It's low barrier, but you can't use drugs on site. So there's structure, there's accountability. A lot of people don't want that, so they came to Grants Pass, where it's easier. So the injunction states that if a city doesn't have enough space to house people, they can stay in the parks. So we don't have that yet. So we're being forced into finding a place that we can open up a low barrier campsite. But that doesn't mean they're going to go there, right? We can't make them go there. They can stay downtown if they want.
All right, well, we're going to keep talking about this. Next, a man currently experiencing homelessness who says criminalizing the things needed to survive on the street is not the answer. We're going to add him to the conversation after the break. $36 trillion. That is the U.S. debt, and it gets deeper and deeper by the day. Our debt has never been higher, nor have the stakes. The government is looking to slash the federal budget by $2 trillion, and no one knows what that will mean for your job, savings, and future. I've seen a lot in my time, and there's one thing I know for sure. You need to prepare before it's too late. I trust Preserve Gold to help protect my wealth, and I strongly urge you to do the same. They are the only precious metals firm I trust and recommend to my family, friends, and audience, and they have a special offer just for you. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 to get your free precious metals guide from Preserve Gold. With gold prices recently breaking records and analysts predicting this trend to continue throughout 2025, you cannot afford to wait. As a bonus, you can get up to $15,000 with a qualified purchase from Preserve Gold. So don't wait. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 today. Our next guest, Dion, has thankfully found safe refuge in a shelter for the homeless after living months trying to survive on the streets.
I was homeless for 7 or 8 months. Back here, no one really bothered me. I was able to put a cover on top and lay on all the 2x4s and make a home here. And then I put the carts against so that nobody would bother me. Back there, took enough fentanyl that should have ended my life. So much has changed since then. I didn't want to continue to live. Now I do. I am living way better. So over here is a place that saved my life. It's a 9-month faith-based rehabilitation program. We do all of our classes, our AA classes, our biblical classes, our counseling therapy sessions. I graduate in about 2 weeks. And there's nothing better. Arresting homeless people is definitely not gonna help them. There's no benefit to jail at any time. It's not a place that actually corrects their behavior. It's punishing somebody, and then you're back on the streets, you're back in your addiction, and it's an endless cycle. You're not giving anybody a good chance to live their life. You're just thinking that you're rounding up a bunch of disgusting degenerates in this world and putting them all in a place that you feel that you can control them. In today's society, 100% believe that we are dirty, gross, mistreating the system, and they couldn't be far from the truth.
Well, Dion, I'm glad you're here, and you're making some real progress, right?
Absolutely.
You've been homeless for 2 years. You stayed with a friend. You slept on the streets for 7 or 8 months, benches, anywhere you could find a shelter at times. You say it got to the point where you didn't really care whether you lived or died. Why?
So kind of what he was talking about, I struggled with mental illness and addiction altogether. And I've been struggling with that for 10 years, and I never found an out. I never found hope. I never found a way to really cope with it or to deal with my addiction. And I had a job, I had a house, I had everything, and I lost it all because of my addiction and the things going on in my head. And it got to the point where I got scared and so alone, and I couldn't hold conversations with people long enough to be able to for them to actually get to know me. And I did enough fentanyl that should have ended my life.
Mm-hmm. What kind of work were you doing?
So I was a mechanic for 6 years. Before that, I served in the Army. And for the 6 to 7 years that I was a mechanic, I managed shops. I had people that worked for me. I almost was on the path to buying my own shop. Mm-hmm. And I had a nice condo out here in Prosper.
And what happened to derail you?
So I was drinking pretty significantly after I came back from Afghanistan to just kind of cope with everything that had happened out there. And I had found no way to really deal with it. But I was a functioning alcoholic, if you want to say. And when I was 25, about 6 years after I got out from the military, when I was 25, I got into a really bad motorcycle accident. And the doctor prescribed me painkillers. And that was it. That was the cure to all the pain, everything that I felt inside. I felt like I was God. I can control my life until I couldn't anymore.
So they gave you pain meds, opioids?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
Big bottle?
Big bottle. They did it for about 2 years until they abruptly stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no, hey, man, let's try to wean you off of it. It was like, all right, we're going to be done with the prescription.
Yeah. And where's the VA in all this?
And I stopped going. They were no longer helping me.
They weren't offering you any help?
Yes, sir.
Were they offering you therapy?
They did initially for the 6 weeks of decompression phase whenever I came back. But after that, I put on a mask to say that I'm fine, I'm stronger than this. And then I tried to beat it myself, and it didn't work. But I work with a therapist now who specializes in trauma and PTSD and night terrors, and she's done an amazing work that no other VA therapist that I've experienced in my own experience has been able to get me to overcome.
Mm-hmm. That's great. You're going to continue pursuing that, right?
Yes, sir.
You're going to be in sober living soon, right?
Yes, sir. So the facility that I'm at now, they're a 9-month rehabilitation facility. They didn't just give me a bed to lay on or a place to go to, because I've tried sober living facilities before. I've tried, like, here's a bed and here you go, you're off the streets. Congratulations. They immediately, day one, poured so much love into you and make you feel like you're worth it and show you that there's hope. And then the sober living that they provide afterwards is after the treatment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is after you realize that there is hope, and it's up to addicts like me and to everybody else to inform people that there is hope to get off the drug.
And you don't think they should criminalize homelessness?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. But do you think that when homeless commit crimes, they should be held accountable for those crimes?
I mean, a crime is a crime. I've been to jail. I've committed crimes, and I fully take ownership of everything that I've done.
Because there's two different things. Criminalizing someone for not having somewhere to go is one thing. Criminalizing criminal behavior, holding people accountable for committing crimes, is a different thing.
There's a way different thing.
I mean, holding somebody accountable because there's not a bed for them to go to, and so they're left on the street with no option, criminalizing that behavior and starting to rack up fines, and so the system is pushing them into a hole they can't get out of, is a self-fulfilling prophecy that leads to nowhere good. But because they don't have a place to stay doesn't mean the laws no longer apply to them, and so now they can assault Missy, they can do this or do that, and they get a pass because they don't have a bed. That's a different story. You agree with that?
I definitely agree with that. I mean, there's evil people in this world.
Well, evil or otherwise, you break the law, you break the law.
You break the law, you break the law. It's not just homeless people that are creating these crimes either.
Of course.
You're putting a status on us thinking that we are all criminals when we're not.
No, but if you commit a crime, you're a criminal.
Yep.
That doesn't mean just because you're homeless, you get a pass, but it doesn't mean just because you're homeless, you're a criminal.
Right.
I'm just saying that there shouldn't be a separate set of rules for somebody that doesn't have a place to stay.
Right.
That doesn't mean resources shouldn't be made available. Every effort shouldn't be made to try to get someone like you back on your feet. And you're a perfect example of, if those resources are spent, you can start contributing to society instead of bleeding it dry.
Right.
And you're a perfect example of that. And congratulations for it. And thank you for your service, by the way.
Thank you.
All right, next, we visited a homeless community in Grants Pass, Oregon, to find out what they say about laws that would criminalize their means for survival. We'll take a look at that after the break.
Came together today to make sure that people around this country who are experiencing homelessness know that we have their back. They know that we care. And you show those in power in this country that arresting, finding, and ticketing our neighbors does not make homelessness better. It is a costly way to make homeless people invisible and homelessness worse. We should have realized a long time ago that we can't arrest our way out of issues.
If you ask people experiencing homelessness themselves, they are strongly against being criminalized.
The officers are kind of being mean with us. They kind of look down on us, because we're homeless.
They literally look for reasons to give us tickets so they can kick us out of the parks.
The officers will come through, and they'll wake us up in the morning, here's the new tent.
Well, they think most of us are drug addicts, and that's not necessarily true. Some of us are just displaced.
We basically get treated like we're street trash. Nobody wants to see us. I'm hopeful, though, that maybe they actually realize that it is cruel and unusual punishment to be doing this to us. Just give us something we can work with. More shelters, homeless shelters, or a piece of land where we can go and not be bothering anybody.
I'm scared they have a group that goes around and beat up homeless people. Take baseball bats to them and stuff. There's some people who've been put in the hospital from it. And if we had somewhere to get up and leave too, believe me, we'd be there.
Well, joining us now is someone I consider a really good friend, Donald Whitehead, who is the executive director of the National Coalition for the Homeless. He believes criminalizing homelessness would set a terrible precedent for our country. On the other side is Matt Makoviak, who is the co-founder of Save Austin Now, a nonpartisan citizenship group dedicated to protecting the quality of life in Austin, Texas. Now, Matt's been on the show. Consider him a friend as well. He believes laws surrounding homelessness are needed to protect communities and even those experiencing homelessness themselves. And I've got strong feelings about this. There are parts of both of y'all's positions that I agree with. And then there's a third position that I hold that I'm going to talk about that I feel strongly about, but I come last. So it's good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
You certainly don't think that we should be criminalizing people for not having a place to stay.
No.
And I agree with that 100%. If somebody like you, who are obviously a very responsible young mother, finds herself without a place to stay, and the place you're in doesn't have resources to help you get over a hump, they have 50 beds and 100 people that need them, we shouldn't arrest the 50 that don't get a bed. That's insane. That just means, okay, you didn't have the money for a place to stay. Now we're going to start tagging you with a ticket for $100. Then you're not going to pay that. So now you're going to be in contempt of court. So now we're going to tag you with a second one for now, $250. Now you're going to owe $350. So we're going to snap you up and put you in jail for 30 days. When you get out, you're going to owe court costs and you're still going to owe $350. I mean, we're just digging a hole and throwing dirt in on top of you. That doesn't solve anything.
It does not. And the other thing that people have to understand is people don't want to be homeless. And if you find, jail, and arrest people, after that's over, they're still homeless. So you haven't solved the problem. You've actually spent money that you could have spent on affordable housing and services on criminalizing individuals. And so the status of homelessness should not be criminalized. I do agree if people commit crimes, they should have to answer for those crimes. But sleeping outside because you have nowhere else to go is not a crime.
Yeah, if some guy jumps in her car, pulls his pants down, tries to grab her purse, I don't care if he's homeless, not homeless, came out of the bank, whatever, he's going to jail.
Absolutely.
That's a crime. Now, that's not criminalizing homeless. That's criminalizing behavior of somebody that happened to be homeless when he did the crime. He's going in. I don't care. That's a crime. That's different than criminalizing homelessness. Agreed?
Absolutely. And we see in communities where they have stopped criminalizing homelessness has decreased dramatically. One example, Miami, Florida. Miami, Florida stopped criminalizing homeless people for a period of years, and homelessness in that community was reduced by 90%.
Why?
Because they used the alternatives. They used housing and supportive services, so people were off the streets and able to get treatment that is non-existent in a lot of places. They were able to get mental health services. So the city had to be creative. The city had to think about solutions and not just making people invisible by putting them in jail, but actually making people healthy. Communities are absolutely safer and healthier when we have alternatives to criminalization and we have housing and supportive services.
Yeah, and arresting people is a very expensive way to get 3 hots in a cot.
Absolutely.
Matt, what do you say about all this?
Well, the Miami story is a little bit different, I think, maybe from my perspective than what Donald was saying. And look, he has a heart for this. I don't question, your heart for this. But, it's warm weather cities where you're seeing significant homeless populations grow. And if you look at cities that have taken homelessness seriously in terms of the behavior, those cities are doing better. Phoenix, they've done pretty well. Dallas has done well. Miami's done well. Nashville's done well. But if you look across the country, it's the cities that have, unfortunately, from my perspective, allowed open camping with really no rules almost whatsoever, certainly no enforcement. Camping is a way to allow homeless individuals to make tragic choices. They become victimized. This is not about smoking pot. No one cares about that. This is about hard drugs. This is about victimization, right? And so, there is a needle to thread here, right? I've never had the position, our group's never had the position that being homeless is a crime or that all homeless need to be in jail. That doesn't, as you said, solve the problem. On the other hand, if you are not requiring them to start making good decisions, then they're going to continue to stay on the path that they're there. We've never believed homelessness is about housing entirely. The UCLA study from 3 years ago showed that about 3/4 of homeless people have mental health challenges and about 70% have drug and alcohol addiction. That is the root of the issue. And so, and I know Donald and I disagree on this. He's for housing first. We're for treatment first.
We're for treatment first. I'm for the facts. Yeah. So let's start out with your first example. You talked about warm cities. So would you consider Milwaukee a warm city?
No, of course not.
Well, they reduced homelessness by 93%. And you know how they did it? They provided permanent supportive housing.
Sure.
And they, instead of arresting people in camps, they put them into housing. They had 26,000 units of housing created. They put people in housing. And when they moved people from camps, it wasn't to jail. It was to their own house with some supportive services. New York City has done really efficient things. You talked about Dallas. Dallas has reduced homelessness by 63%. And you know how they did that? They did compassionate resolution in encampments. They provided permanent supportive housing, and they created housing for people that didn't have substance abuse or health issues. They made sure that people were getting housing. That's how you solve homelessness.
We're out of time for tonight. Tomorrow, we'll hear from people experiencing homelessness in Grants Pass and learn why they are strongly against being criminalized. Plus, the debate over the solutions to this national problem reach a boiling point when we introduce an advocate for the homeless who has a strong opinion about what needs to be done to get people off the streets. Here's a sneak peek at tomorrow's show.
If housing were the solution to homelessness, homelessness would have gone down.
Giving them 4 walls and a bed just doesn't address the issue.
How do you
And that's
pay
not
for your
mine.
rent if you can't hold a job?
There are 15 available units that are just still sitting empty because they want to continue using drugs. Nobody wants to follow the rules.
No lease in America says you can use drugs on your property.
Addiction and mental health is being under-acknowledged as a role in all of this. Since we taped tonight's episode, it's been reported that new leadership, including a new mayor in Grants Pass, have been working to change how the city will address its homelessness crisis. This also all comes after the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of Grants Pass 6-3, deciding that people experiencing homelessness can in fact be arrested and fined for sleeping outside even when they have nowhere else to go. This decision overruled the lower courts that had previously determined that punishing someone for the status of being homeless violated the U.S. Constitution's ban on cruel and unusual punishment.
The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that cities can fine or even jail people for sleeping outside.
Today's ruling is important because it restores authority back to locally elected leaders for them to make the decisions about what is best for their unique communities in relation to the homelessness issues.
Since the Supreme Court's decision, cities and towns in states across the country are now proposing, passing, and enforcing anti-camping laws.
Homelessness is not a crime. By putting, penalties on them, showing fines on them, that's not going to get them in housing. That's actually going to make the problem worse.
We reached out to the new mayor of Grants Pass for a statement and received the following. Thank you for reaching out. This is an important issue, and we are actively reviewing all aspects to ensure we make the best decision for our community. At this time, we don't have a final answer, but we will share updates as soon as we can.